Howdy, howdy, episode 181 of American Reveille Podcast. I'm James Lane. This is going to be an awesome show. All kinds of things are happening. We can't possibly cover everything, but I like to handcraft these shows towards a certain point of view, a certain reality, something that relates, something that you understand, something that you see and feel and touch every day, but maybe you can't put your finger on it. Well, I'm going to help you put your finger on it, because in this episode, I'm going to show you the real winter of death. You see, we've got Joe Biden running around telling all the unvaccinated people out there that a winter of death is coming, that the hospitals will be overrun. A winter of death will bring darkness upon the land. Well, folks, that's just a distraction. You see, COVID isn't the real problem. The real problem lies in Democrat cities. And in this show, we're going to show you the real winter of death. I'm going to bring you into Chicago. We're going to take a look at all the homicides. We're going to take a look at the bills that are being passed to make no consent needed by the parents for abortion, leading up to the real winter of death. A winter of abortions leading up to the June 2022 decision that's most likely going to overturn Roe v. Wade in the Supreme Court. All this and more coming up. We're going to get some headlines in. We're going to get all kinds of stuff in. But first, I want to go over my notes a little bit more like usual. So let's kick this show on the fucking road.
That's ISO. Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas and packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up, I'm with the gang, we taking shots off the rebound. Fucking my posters, say now, I've been humble too long, yeah. Tell them all to stay calm, yeah. Tell them all to move on, yeah. Fucking my posters, say now, they be lost in the
Oh, this one's pretty nice.
That's your loss, yeah. Had to get my point across, yeah. Heard the lanes was talking and we don't pay that no.
So how have y'all been doing?
Watching all that, I'll be here in no time. Put a candle on it.
Hope you're liking the new format of the show.
Lights, camera, action, shoes. Smoking that dope from Edmund. We the new method.
I don't know what day it is where you are. We're recording this Sunday night to get you fresh and early for Monday morning.
Fuck with the fam, you a dead man. Jesus, peace on my pendant.
James Lane here. Like I said before, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. Hi, good morning, good evening. How are you? Some of you guys don't have subscription buttons. Some of you guys are listening on the radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Rumble, Odyssey, YouTube. We're all over the place, censored by many, but still persisting through. I missed you guys. It's been a couple days. I hope you have been enjoying your week. What is up?
My shit, you know we gon' pop that. See it, I like it, yeah, I'm gon' cop that. When we on top, how you on top that now? You ain't got nothing on us. I'm steady calling your bluff.
I have so many wonderful things to show you today.
Tough, yeah. Heard the rings was talking and we don't pay that no mind. They didn't need to watch all that.
They got this drag queen church going on in Chicago. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Pritzker ending parental notification for abortion. We're going to talk about Roe v. Wade at the end of this show. We're all going to do what we got to drive this point home. The real winter of death is coming. It has nothing to do with COVID, my friends. Nothing to do with COVID.
Fucking my posters, say now. I've been humble too long, yeah. Tell them all to stay calm, yeah. Tell them all to move on, yeah. Fucking my posters.
Ooh, what a weird world we live in. Got some headlines coming up.
That's your loss, yeah. Had to get my point across, yeah.
All right, folks, how you guys doing? Oh my gosh, where am I going to put this notepad? I've been preparing for this for a couple hours, doing what I got to do to get this show together. Unlike other podcasts out there, unlike other shows out there, we're actually putting a full story together. We're showing you the big picture, talking to you, a wonderful solo cast just for you. So you and I can sit together and have this conversation, sometimes a little loud, sometimes a little quiet, but always true to the point. Folks, how you guys doing? I keep saying how you guys doing, And I keep saying it for a reason. Now, you might think, oh, he's forgetting something. Oh, he's repeating himself. No, I'm asking how you're doing because things are getting significantly worse out there. Every time I step outside, the gas prices are higher. The food prices are higher. There's crazy people running the street in my neighborhood. Nobody is safe. The cops can't do anything. Nobody can seem to do anything. And if you're a good guy trying to protect yourself, you seem to be in a lot more trouble than the other folks committing the actual crime. So again, how you doing? I'm doing pretty unwell, especially with all the crazy news out there, but at least there's a silver lining because Joe Manchin killed the Build Back Better bill. That's right. We're going to jump into some headlines and we're going to start with this video courtesy of News Junkie Cartoons. Take a look.
Well, Brett, this is a mammoth piece of legislation, and I had my reservations from the beginning when I heard about it 5.5 months ago, and I've been working diligently every day and every minute of every day. I've been working on this, meeting with, whether it be the President Biden, whether it be Majority Leader Schumer and his staff, whether it would be with Nancy Pelosi, all of my colleagues.
For those listening, this is Joe Manchin talking, Democrat senator.
Right to the left. I've done everything humanly possible. And my concerns I had, and I still have these concerns, and where I'm at right now, the inflation that I was concerned about, it's not transitory, it's real, it's harming every West Virginian. It's making it almost difficult for them to continue to go to their jobs, the cost of gasoline, the cost of groceries, the cost of utility bills. All of these things are hitting in every aspect of their life.
It's hurting all of us in every state.
Start looking at, then you have the debt that we're carrying at $29 trillion. You have also the geopolitical unrest that we have. You have the COVID variant, and that is wreaking havoc again. People are concerned. I've been with my family. I know everyone's concerned. So when you have these things coming at you the way they are right now, I've always said this, Brett, if I can't go home and explain it to the people of West Virginia, I can't vote for it. And I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible.
Good.
I can't get there.
You're done. This is a no.
This is a no.
They're really showing themselves to do really well.
This is a no, ladies and gentlemen. The Build Back Better bill, at least right now, is dead. Is there a chance they can try to revive it next year? Yes, but the consensus shows that the fighting will just keep occurring, but among the Democrats, the progressives, and it'll just hopefully sink into the sea like Atlantis apparently did over 10,000 years ago. Joe Manchin opposes the $4.91 trillion Build Back Better Act, and don't let anybody tell you it's any cheaper than that. It's not. It's $4.91 trillion, even more than that most likely. We have, a $27, $28, $29 trillion deficit? Yeah, that'll be the death of this country. We need to get back on the plan that pays that debt down. Joe Manchin knows it. We all know it. And I'm happy that he's standing in the way of what would essentially turn this country into a socialist shithole. Plain and simple. The Build Back Better bill destroys this country. It's Great Reset George Soros bullshit. And at least somebody has the balls to stand up to it. At least they want to stay in their seat. I'll tell you that, because I believe that if you were to vote for that bill, the people in his town would crucify him. They'd absolutely crucify him. All right. So he has killed the bill. We can at least be thankful about that. We can celebrate that. But these are headlines. We're going to zoom through them. And speaking of killing things, these are some things that nobody likes to talk about. They don't like to tell you what criminals look like, what they're doing, or how they're doing it. But there's a killer right now. And it's not Joe Manchin. No, it's a man from Fairfax. They call him the shopping cart killer. All right, he's murdered at least 4 women. His name is Anthony Robinson. He's 35 years old. He's an African-American man from Washington, D.C. And they're going to say, oh, why would you say that you're a racist? Why does race matter? Skin color doesn't matter. No, you're right. It doesn't. But the left, they say it. They're going to say it every time anything happens, anytime a white guy does anything. So why don't we just say it, right? We want to be better than them. We want to be able to say skin color doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. But to the left, it matters selectively. They like to come out and pretend to be some party of equality, but really their policies have kept black people in chains to this day. All of the inner city folks that are dealing with the drama, that think socialism is the answer, all of the things, the pressure, the systemic racism they talk about comes from old white Democrat policies. That's what it comes from. So let's call a spade a spade. Let's call a criminal a criminal. I say skin color doesn't matter, but maybe you should know Anthony Robinson, African-American serial killer. And what did he do? He would take these women that he would meet online using dating apps, welcome to the 21st century, and then he would murder them, chop them up, put them in a shopping cart, and transport them to their final destination. It says Anthony Eugene Robinson, 35, was named as the shopping cart killer by Harrisonburg and Fairfax County Police at a press conference on Friday. Robinson has been charged with the slaying of Aline Elizabeth Beth Redmond, 54, Tonita Laree Smith, 39, and she's of Charlottesville. Fairfax County Police have tentatively linked Robinson to the murder of Cheyenne Brown of Washington, D.C., who was last seen September 30th. Police say they believe her remains, along with another unidentified person, were found in a wooded area in the Huntington area of Fairfax County on Wednesday. The victims did nothing wrong, said Fairfax Major Ed O. Carroll. This didn't have to happen. All right, so this is what happens. Police Chief Kevin Davis says that Robinson's signature is meeting people through dating websites. He'd meet them at motels, kill them through blunt force trauma, and then he'd transport their bodies to a dumping site using a shopping cart. Hence, he is the shopping cart killer. All right, he is the shopping cart killer. Folks, none of this matters to most people. All right, we're surrounded by people that are living their lives that aren't paying attention to any of this. They're just listening to what the radio says, to what the news says, to what some CNN anchor says, to what companies full of pedophiles like to say, that white people are going around murdering people, white people are going around killing black people, white people are going around killing people. This is a black serial killer, and all of his victims are black. All right? He is just another killer, just like a white person would be who was killing people. When are people going to understand this doesn't matter? Your skin color and all this doesn't matter. If you're insane, if you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. That's what it is. That's what it is. But race has been injected into all of this. All right. The left will say race. I just said a race. It's all been injected into everything because everything's been politicized. Everything has been put into place to divide us, to pull us apart. So why don't we call a spade a spade? That is a killer. All right, plain and simple. And a white guy who did the same thing, that would be a killer, a serial killer. All of them equal in standing, just like black people and white people equal in standing. In fact, all Americans equal in standing. Skin color doesn't matter. That is a Democrat talking point, and the Democrats are dragging us back into it. But we don't want to deal with that. The 21st century United States of America, where we're at right now, right into the 20s. All right, 2021 going into 2022, fed up with all of the nonsense, fed up with all of the bullshit. Trump ripped off the scab, pulled back the curtain. We saw the man behind it, and we know the truth. We know we're being manipulated. We know we're being bullshitted. We know. So in 2021, right at the end of the year, a year where anything is possible, where anything could happen, where space aliens have been coming out of the sky, apparently, and UFOs are now A-OK to the Pentagon. Hey, they did come out a couple weeks ago. If you don't believe me, go look it up. UFOs are apparently real. They don't know what they are, and all hell's about to break loose. Great. But again, nobody's paying attention. It's 2021, a year where Jake Paul, a YouTuber, is now having $1 million boxing matches on national television and knocking out BLM supporters while crowds shout, "Fuck Joe Biden" in the background. I'm not making this up. This is the world we live in. The entire culture is rejecting racism, is rejecting hate, is rejecting evil. By rejecting Joe Biden, rejecting the Democrat policies, rejecting Black Lives Matter, and rejecting this insane socialist worldwide takeover. All right. So now in 2021, instead of reporting things like Cambodia or some sort of conflict overseas or some serious news, the serious news is that YouTuber Jake Paul knocks out BLM supporter Tyron Woody as the crowd chants. Woody and chouts Tyron Woodley as the crowd chants, "Fuck Joe Biden." And I'm actually happy to report this news. All right. I'm happy that the scab has been ripped off, that we realize we've had all these false flag events around the world, that we realize that things that are happening in other countries don't always concern us, that we realize, listen, Trump showed us the truth. He showed us the truth and we're all awake. All right. "Fuck Joe Biden" is being chanted as Jake Paul knocks out BLM supporter Tyron Woodley. It says YouTuber turned pro boxer Jake Paul has knocked out former MMA champion, aspiring rapper, and vocal BLM supporter Tyron Woodley in a boxing rematch with an overhand right punch. Paul had won the first fight via split decision, and Woodley had begged for a rematch, just like BLM always does. "It's not fair. The world is not fair. We want more. We need a second chance. We need 1,000,000 chances." If you don't know what discipline, hard work, and fighting for something you believe in is, you could have 1,000,000 chances and you'll never succeed. And remember, when I say this, BLM, the organization, is very different than Black Lives Mattering. Black lives do matter. All lives matter. White people, Black people, Asian people, Jewish people, Muslim people, everybody matters. But BLM, the organization, is a socialist, terrorist organization hell-bent on the destruction of democracy and tearing down the foundations of the U.S. Constitution. That's very different than caring about Black people. Paul won this fight. He beat the shit out of this dude. And now here on American Reveille, leading into the show, going with the headlines, a couple things I wanted to do at the beginning of this show, I'm going to show you Jake Paul knocking this dude the F out. And then you're going to get to hear people shouting, "Fuck Joe Biden" in the background. And we're going to start your day, end your day, continue your day with a great feeling deep in your heart, deep in your stomach, and a tingle right down deep inside where it's dirty. Maybe not, hopefully not. But I'm going to get you in a good mood right here because, folks, when was the last time you saw a good knockout?
Just hasn't been.
Asleep.
No, stay down. I need a doctor. I need a doctor. I need a doctor.
For those listening and not watching, with an overhand right punch, a once YouTube sensation, showing kids now you can do and be anything you want to be, knocked this dude so hard with an overhand right punch, he went to sleep. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. How good was that? Listen, in the background, you might not have been able to hear it. We got this ad playing, so I'm not even going to keep going with it. But in the background, all right, you could hear them saying, "Fuck Joe Biden, fuck Joe Biden." And it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger as it goes. All right. That was a beautiful overhand right punch. I even heard Joe Rogan say a couple times that Jake Paul is really underestimated and he's an actual good fighter. Well, I guess you can grow up now and be a YouTube sensation. I hear kids all the time, and I used to think weird about it. I'd go, "Man, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And they'd go, "I want to be a YouTube star." And I'd go, "Oh my God, what's happening? I don't understand." But I guess when you grow up thinking that, I mean, look at what that guy did. He literally became a YouTube star, and now he's a pro boxer, and he's knocking people the F out, winning millions of dollars. I mean, hell. I mean, who would want to be a firefighter when you could do that? It's a strange world we live in, but that is what it is. That's what it is. That's my headlines, folks. I really thought that it really went to show what a crazy world we're living in. And here's why. There's a contrast. We started with Joe Manchin. All right. That's a big deal. Build Back Better being pretty much dead for now. All right. I hope it stays dead. But for now, we can rest easy knowing that the country still is safeguarded against falling into the hands of the global new world order, because that's basically what it is. Go to World Economic Forum. Take a look. Google it. Just look. It's right there. All the plans are laid out to what they want to do. All right. It's nonsense. All right. It's nonsense. If you don't want to look and you tell me I'm lying, go fact check yourself. Go take a look and see the truth for yourself. This whole Build Back Better plan, it was there before Joe Biden even ran for office. Build Back Better is part of the Great Reset, plain and simple. But look it up yourself. We went into that. All right. Good news from there. Right into the serial killer. All right. I wanted to show you that all kinds of crime happens all over the country and that skin color really doesn't matter. All right. I started it off a little tense and I wanted it to be that way, but we brought it through to the other side and then let you know that 2021 is all about populism. It's all about taking a stand. It's all about the people rising up and saying, no, fuck you, Joe Biden, with Logan Paul's overhand right punch, knocking the shit out of that BLM asshole. Plain and simple. All right. We're going to get right into the show now and we're going to talk about Joe Biden. All right. I want to start with him talking about this winter of severe illness and death, because this jackass came out and he goes, oh, we're going to have a winter of death for all the unvaccinated. He's trying to push all these vaccines. Do they help some people? Maybe. I know I had a real bad reaction. I know my dad died within weeks of getting the shot. I know my mom had a severe reaction and her glands swelled up to the size of freaking grapefruits. I saw them myself. All right. So I don't know what to tell you. These shots do harm some people. That doesn't mean they don't do good for others, but there were other things out there that could help people that were thrown under the rug. And the only thing I can imagine is it's to make this pharmaceutical industrial complex even richer. That is what I can only imagine. So while masking the true epidemics, the true pandemics of family destruction, inner city violence, abortions, all kinds of death across, how about fentanyl? Fentanyl is now the #1 cause of death of young people all the way up to 45 years old. It overtook COVID. It overtook everything else. Fentanyl is now killing everybody. Nobody's going to talk about that, but apparently we've got a winter of severe illness and death. Take a listen.
Increase. For unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death for unvaccinated. For themselves, their families, and the hospital, they'll soon overwhelm.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. They'll soon over for what? Omicron? Omnicroon? Omniprunes? Listen, Omicron, this crappy ass variant, is apparently going to come and kill the Delta. All right. It's going to take over. And guess what? Nobody's died from it. Nobody has gotten sick from Omicron to the point where they've died. Rarely. I think it's under 1% have been hospitalized worldwide. So if this thing comes, takes over this whole thing, everybody gets sick with it. Doesn't that get us more immune than the vaccine? Shouldn't we want to get this one compared to Delta, which actually does kill some folks? Don't you even know that the vaccine people are still getting is for the first variant? That's right. Listen, Delta took over. Delta is 99.9%. You wonder why people are having breakthroughs, why people are getting sick from COVID again and again after the vaccine? It's because they're not vaccinated for Delta. Delta's actually still in trials. Oh, that's right. If you haven't known, and Rand Paul said this, it's very true. All right. The Delta vaccine is actually being developed and tested and almost ready for rollout. So we've all been getting Delta, but everybody who's been vaccinated, including myself, has been vaccinated for the first variant, or the Alpha, or whatever the hell it was. So Delta comes out, nobody's vaccinated for it, and we're going, oh, I wonder why other people are getting sick. I wonder. You're getting sick because you're vaccinated for the wrong fucking one. That's why. We're all being sold shit. Spray painted in gold spray paint, and they're saying, don't worry, it's a gold nugget. All right? People are stupidly eating it up. And then when the Delta vaccine comes out, they'll fucking sell that to everybody. And then they'll say, oh, but the Omicron. But if everybody gets sick from the Omicron, your personal natural antibodies, at least in my assumption, would be stronger, wouldn't they? Somebody let me know in the comments below. All right, somebody send me an email. Look at the scroll bars, jameslane@AmericanReveille.com. Tell me if I'm insane, but that is my belief. That's my belief. And meanwhile, true pandemics of crime, violence, death, destruction, and debauchery are happening across this country. And we start by zooming in on some Democrat cities, because that's the real winter of death. The real winter of death is going to lead up to June 2022. It's going to lead up to the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade type things. It's going to lead up to the November 2022 midterms elections, especially if Roe v. Wade is overturned or changed in a major way. All of this is going to explode. All of this is going to lead to tinder points. It's going to lead to powder keg moments that could lead to civil unrest to the point that even drives us to civil war. All right. The election of 1860 was very similar to what may be coming up in 2024. So hold on to your asses. We're not going to be in Kansas anymore. This shit gets worse. And you feel it. I feel it. You feel that in the pit of your stomach? We all feel it. We're all going through this together. So don't think for 1 second stuff's not going to get worse. It is. That feeling, we're connected. We're all connected. We know something wicked this way comes. So we have to be prepared. We have to fight for it. Right now would be a great segue if I actually had a sponsor, but I don't. So don't worry. We're not going to Ben Shapiro this episode. Listen, the severe death, the severe illness, the winter of death, doom, destruction, and gloom starts in Democrat cities like Chicago, which has already recorded over 800 homicides year to date in Mayor Lori Lightfoot's Chicago. Chicago, listen, if Florida is the cock and balls of this country, Chicago's the anus. I'm telling you, Chicago is a shithole. Besides some good, they got to have good food because you're miserable when you live there, when you visit there. I've spent a lot of time in Chicago. We'll have a talk about it one day, but trust me, not a great place to be, not a safe place to be. Scared residents living in fear for their life. 800 homicides year to date. The Chicago Sun-Times reports the city hit the figure of 800 homicides on Tuesday when 23-year-old Sheridan Freeman was shot dead inside a home in West Pullman. By Thursday, WBEZ Chicago noted the number of homicides in the city was at 812 for the year. All right, Chicago has had a long problem with gun crime, and the vast majority of this year's homicide victims were killed with guns. Now, the left thinks if they get rid of guns, that'll help everything, but the criminals aren't going to get rid of guns. The inner cities aren't going to get rid of guns. It'll just lead to more violence and burglary. You see, these socialists think that they can engineer people's human nature, people's emotions, people's feelings, and if they just remove the things from the lab experiment, from the rat cage that make the rat do crazy things, the rat won't do crazy things anymore. But all us rats, you see, we're wired to do crazy things because we're rats. We're humans. It's human nature. If there's an opportunity for violence, some people will be violent. If there's an opportunity for greed, some people will be greedy. There's no fixing that. The way you fix that is by making the laws strict and holding people accountable. But they don't want to do that in Chicago. That's not what Chicago does. All right. It says that at least 11 people have been shot and killed this week alone. And remember, this was from a couple days ago. So what I want to do is I want to show you something a little more recent. You see, I did some digging and there's this guy named James Hawthorne. All right. James Hawthorne has this thing called Ghetto News Network. He calls himself Jay Hustle. He lives in Chicago, in these areas, and he follows the police scanners. And I want to show you some excerpts from the police scanner, December 17th. All right. This is just a few days ago, not even much. This is 2 days ago. All right. And this is live. This is what was happening. This is going on again and again and again. This is, mind you, within the span of an hour or two. I'm not going through this and talking about weeks and months here. We're talking about again and again and again. 111th and Dottie Road. 2 people shot at this location. 1 killed. The 14-year-old was transported to Comier Children's Hospital. His brother was unable to be saved. All right? 24 rounds just fired. 73rd and Chaplin. This is detected by the spot shotter camera. Apparently there's a special camera for it. 23rd and Rockwell. Multiple rifle rounds just fired from a white vehicle. More than one shooter detected by the spot shotter camera called in by the sheriffs nearby. This is in the span of 20 minutes, folks. All right. That's 8:20. All right. 8:15 p.m. and 8/11. All right. Not even 20. This is in the span of 10 minutes. 10 minutes. We've got people shooting out of the side of vehicles like Tommy guns in gangster movies. All right. We're not done. 8:05. Another woman just robbed and carjacked at gunpoint. Offenders last seen going southbound in her stolen vehicle. That was Lexington and Loomis. All right, 64th and Marshfield. A man just told dispatch his crazy girlfriend slapped him in the face with a spatula. That's a funny one. 123rd and Princeton. Call just came into dispatch saying a woman is arguing with a man and woman, trying to stab them. 68th and Oakley. 28-year-old man shot in the leg. The shooting was accidental. Had his finger on the trigger while tucking it. All right, no CCL, no concealed. He's being arrested, but he'll be let right out. It's a Democrat-run city. 57th and Aberdeen. All right, keep in mind, it's 7:43 p.m. It's been like 25 minutes. All right, this whole thing, I'm reading all this. 25 minutes. This is all within a small radius. 2 more people just shot. EMS on scene. Multiple rounds detected by the spot shotter camera. They have a special camera to detect when people get shot. All right, props to James Hawthorne, by the way. If anybody can contact him, give him his props for doing this good work here. Illinois and Wabash Avenue. A man and woman were just shot by someone in another vehicle. Police on scene, EMS en route. All right, we've had enough. We've gone through and through and through. These things keep happening, and they're not stopping. And we go, winter of death, Joe Biden. Winter of death? There's 4 seasons of death happening in all Democrat cities. There's a spring of death, a summer of death, a fall of death, and a winter of death in Chicago. All right. And it doesn't just end here. It's not just gun violence, and taking away the guns don't fix that. Stupid Democrats. It's an epidemic of murder, death, destruction, and chaos, and it all starts with Democrat policies. They say the system, BLM likes to preach their socialist nonsense. The system, it's systemically racist. No, the Democrat Party is systemically racist. And for decades, even centuries, they've put in place policies that have been racist. Don't direct your anger at us Republicans. Join us Republicans, and let's fix this capitalism and do it right by taking these Democrat policies and tearing them in half. Let us help. All right. Let us show you. Let us explain to you how their policies destroy inner cities, black neighborhoods, and black families, white families, inner city neighborhoods that have poor white people. There are poor people of all colors. I was one of them. All right. I grew up like that. Listen. Skin color don't matter. It really doesn't matter. Being poor is poor, and poor sucks ass. It really does. But free shit doesn't help us. It doesn't make us better. It doesn't make us stronger. Discipline, courage, resistance makes us stronger. Doing it the right way, the nonviolent way, the peaceful way, but with consistent force and pressure. All right. That is how you make change happen. That is how you change your life. All right. And if we need to change some policies, let's look at these Democrat policies that have fucked people for centuries. All right. I'm going to say centuries because it's been well over 100 years that some of these policies have been in place. All right. So why not? Why not we take a look? Why don't we take a look at certain things? I agree with that. I do. But destroying our way of life, making everything worse, turning us into a socialist hellhole so that we can what? Punish some folks, punish white people. It's not white people. It's a group of white people called Democrats who fought to keep people enslaved during the Civil War. Nobody switched groups. Nobody changed parties. Your racism that you're experiencing, all the racism that a lot of minority groups are experiencing is coming from these Democrat policies. That's what we have to look at. All right. But what's going to change it? We need to hear voices, not just from white people. We need to hear voices from inside those cities, from inside the barbed wire, going through the hell. People like this James Hawthorne guy, or people I've read about like this rooftop preacher. All right. There's a pastor in Chicago. He does this podcast on a rooftop. It's called Rooftop Revelations. And I thought this was a beautiful story that helped explain the problems. And we're going to go through it and we're going to talk about it a little. This episode is going to lead to a big point. I want you to see the real winter of death, what it is and what is going on, because it's not just the gun violence. It goes beyond that. And we're going to touch on this real sensitive topic after we go through a couple more of these articles. So in Chicago, It says, according to the Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition, an estimated 882,000, all right, 882,000 adults in Chicago possess low basic literacy skills. That's almost 1 million people that have trouble reading and writing. Think about that. How broken is that? If these children, all right, if the children of these adults do not receive in-depth academic intervention in pre-K, they're 60% more likely to require costly remedial and specialized education classes. There are many families on the south side of Chicago where Pastor Corey Brooks ministers that have passed along illiteracy through several generations, a heartless cycle that profoundly damages individuals, families, and society at large. All right. All put in place, all beginning with Democrat policies. This problem is one key reason why the pastor climbed onto the top of a roof on November 20th, 2021, and will not come down for 100 days. Years earlier, he started a charter school within his church to help reverse the illiteracy trend. He paired students of all ages with after-school tutors. Yet he said his efforts feel like a drop in the bucket when neighborhood public schools pump out illiterate graduates year after year. That's what they do. It's true, folks. These charter schools, these pastors, these priests, they try to go in and help these kids, but the government says, nah, it's too hard for them. So instead of showing them how to learn better, getting individualized, specialized education one-on-one with these students, they just pass them. They just say, nah, you're good. Here's a participation trophy. And it sets them up for failure later in life. Don't you see how racist that is? Don't you see how that system right there screws black people? It screws all people that are going through that. Anybody poor that's going through that system is going to get screwed, regardless of their color, regardless. Listen, I have a real high IQ, all right? Not trying to be braggadocious, but I have to say it for this story. I was put in 4th grade. My school was one of these schools in South Florida in the Democrat Blue County that said, everybody's got to get a trophy. Everybody's got to pass. Everybody's got to go through. And if you're too gifted, we can't handle you. And I was a little too advanced. So do you know where they put me? They put me in the class for people with mental deficiencies, with mental retardation. All right. With nothing against folks. All right. With Down syndrome, nothing against folks that are a little slower. All right. Because people like that, they lead productive lives. They're good people. It had nothing to do with that. What it had to do with was the fact that because I was smarter, they put me back. They held me back because it wasn't fair to the other children. All right. I remember the teacher of that class in 4th grade, Miss Schuler, and she used to apologize to me. I used to sit there all day and polish. She had a wooden ship in there and different pieces of art, and I just polish it because there was no class. There was no teaching. And I could see in her eyes that she knew I wasn't supposed to be there, but the school punished me. All right. That's what they do to children. All right. That are either too smart or too stupid. Because if you're too stupid, not by any fault of your own, but from a failed education system, failed family system, failed system in general, if you're too stupid, they put you forward and that screws you as well. So if you were smarter and they held you back, that's going to screw you from doing better in the future. But if you're not, and they still pass you anyway without helping you, without bringing you up to speed, they're literally setting these young people up with these false expectations for some glorious future when in fact they're leading them right down the path of damnation. It's absolute travesty. It's wrong. And it's child abuse. It's child abuse. It happens to these kids all the time. All the time. All right. It says on day 25 of his vigil, the pastor invited David Hogue, president of Warner University, to the roof to discuss education. It says, I think it goes back farther than the schools. I think we got to get our families and our parents much more involved in the lives of our kids and their education. These parents need to hold the schools more accountable to the curriculum and standards. And we see that across the country. But the pastor, he agreed with some reservations. So what did he say? He said, we got to do something with the parents. But in our neighborhood, all right, 80% of the households, and he's talking about the hood, all right, he's talking about the ghetto in Chicago. He says in our neighborhoods, 80% of the households are single parent households. Think about that, folks. 80% single parent households. That isn't done because dad didn't want to be there and mom didn't want to be there. There's a culture of this. It's been beaten into people by Democrat policies. They're racist policies meant to destroy black families. And what do we have? 80% destroyed black families. Mothers, fathers, mostly single mothers, working their ass off, trying to do everything they can, praying on their knees to God every night, hoping their kids won't get involved in gangs and drugs and violence. But sometimes that's the only way. Some of those kids have no choice. They have no choice. And by the time opportunity comes, it's too late. It's too late. All right. The pastor said that we got these moms who are having a tough time with the educational system failing the kids. The problem that the pastor describes seems insurmountable. Many of the single parents that he knows work 2 low-paying jobs to make ends meet. My mom worked 2 to 3 jobs when I was a kid, just like this article's talking about. Then there are kids whose parents simply don't care about them. Blame can be casted upon so many aspects of society, yet the problem remains, and the cost to society, from poor health outcomes to government dependency, it is quite profound. The pastor detailed how he believes the lack of a strong education drives a lot of the violence in his neighborhood. He said generations after generations in our community are suffering because of our watered-down educational system and the lack of a strong educational. Even if it's a single parent, I have to go back to the family. Even that single parent has to be a champion for the kid. But let me ask you a question. How do you champion your kid when you're working 2, 3 jobs, you're dog-ass tired, you never see your family, and you're hoping they survive? Where's that kid going to get their education? They're going to get their education from the street. We have to fix the culture in this country, folks. We have to fix the education. We have to fix the family. We have to destroy the Democrat policies that have held people down in inner cities for years. And we have to do it fairly without screwing with people in rural areas. There's a balance to everything, and we can find that balance. But unfortunately, they're driving people, literally driving them to war with each other. It doesn't matter about race. All right. They talk about white supremacy, but you have to understand it's been redefined. White supremacy has nothing to do with skin color. White supremacy has to do with a mindset. It's a mindset of working hard, being disciplined. They've rebranded, just like Coke going to Coke Zero. All right. The racists, the left-wing Democrat racists rebranded their racism. They changed all the definition. They've confused everybody. All right. This is a pastor. This guy has a church. This guy's saying that churches are failing. Education systems are failing. Families are failing. So how do we fix it? How do we fix the culture? Can we fix it in the church? Well, Chicago believes that they can. Chicago believes they can fix it in the church by putting drag queens in the church. That's right. Putting drag queens in the church. Because while I'm reading you a police blotter showing a 20-minute span of murder after murder after murder, just like that Demolition Man show, murder, death, kill, murder, death, kill. That seems to be the theme of Chicago. Regardless, that seems to be the theme of Chicago. Regardless of what area, it doesn't matter. All right. I showed you over 800 homicides in Chicago. I showed you. All right. Over 800 homicides. I showed you the live action blotter. I showed you what James Hawthorne's doing. I'm telling you about this rooftop preacher explaining that the families are broken, that the education system's broken, that the churches are broken. But what does Chicago think? What does Illinois think is going to fix it? Inclusion of drag queens giving us story time from the pulpit. It says the phenomena of men dressing up as women and reading to children is spreading across the country. Last weekend, the trend made its way to St. Luke's Lutheran Church of Logan Square in Chicago. According to a Facebook, I told you Chicago's a shithole. According to a Facebook post from the church, the man in drag was a seminarian. All right. He was seminarian Aaron Musser. They encourage the congregation to wear garments that make you feel 100% the best version of you. At the beginning of the message, Musser invited any children or people who would like to see a picture book. Once the children made their way to the front of the room, Musser asked them, "Has anybody seen a drag queen before?" He asked the children that. Has anyone seen a drag queen before? All of them said they had not. So this is everybody's first time they've ever seen a drag queen, he said. Well, hello, I'm a boy most of the time, but today I'm a beautiful queen. That confuses 5-year-olds. All right. It says this video is unavailable. I looked on YouTube. I looked everywhere. The video of the drag queen was taken down all over the mainstream, all off the mainstream video sites. But I did a lot of digging and I found it for you on this off-brand site, vidmax.vm. And we're going to now watch what takes place with the kids, all right, in Chicago, in the church, in the place of God.
So with many other exhortations, John proclaimed the good news to the people. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated, and I'd like to invite any children or people who would like to see a picture book that I will be showing on the end.
He'd like to invite children. Why is that okay? It shouldn't be okay. I don't care what you do in your off time. You want to dress up however you want, but you shouldn't be around kids.
Awesome story to share with you today. I'm really excited to share it with you. I have a question first, though. Have any of you ever seen a drag queen? No? No? This is everybody's first time they're ever seeing a drag queen? Well, hello. I am also a boy most of the time when I'm here, but today I today.
Yes.
Okay, I can't watch anymore. There's 4 minutes and 52 seconds of this. And I'm not going to put you through it. You can say whatever the fuck you want to say about me. You keep that away from my fucking kids. All right. You want to look at me and say that I'm a sexist, I'm a racist, I'm a not inclusive person because of that. You can say whatever you want, but the reality of it and what will hold up in court, mind you. All right. The reality of it is that is somebody that shouldn't be around children because that shouldn't be normalized to children who cannot understand adult concepts like drag queen. All right. If you want to be a drag queen, go put your heels on and be a beautiful drag queen on freaking Miami Beach or wherever the hell you want to. But you shouldn't be in grade schools. This isn't something that's normalized. Things are sexual fetishes for a reason. Things are disguised lifestyles for a reason. Listen. All right. I'll keep my bedroom business to myself. You keep your bedroom business to yourself. Let's go back to that. But this isn't going to be normalized. All right. Let's kick it back to the states and we'll let your little states have this. But you know what that is? That right there to us, that's child abuse. All right. You are child abusers. All right. This is literally a man dressed as a woman. All right. Which if that's his prerogative, hey, man, you be you. But you're sitting in church, a house of God. All right. And I'm Jewish, but I respect Christians, Catholics, other religions. Listen, that's a house of God. Whoever your God is, that's a house of God. You have somebody in there going against what that book for that religion states and then inviting children, all right, towards it and normalizing this twisted behavior to children. All right. That is the issue. Take the children out of it and go do whatever you want to do. All right. But fuck off. Fuck off away from the children. Plain and simple. Have we not had enough stories of kids getting raped by these people? Have we not had enough stories of boys in skirts raping women in freaking schoolrooms? Have we not had enough of these adults going into classes, going into bathrooms, boy bathrooms, girl bathrooms, cross-dressing in different ways, being trans sensitive in different ways, and then hurting our children? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories, but nobody cares, right? Because we have to be accepting of the minor attracted person. Go look it up. It's called a map. All right. The Democrats, they want to sneak it into our bills and make it acceptable. All right. Make it acceptable for people to be attracted to children. No. N-O, no. You want to start a civil war? That's how you start a civil war. Why in God's green earth would you ever think that that's okay? It's not okay. But they take it a step further. They take it a step further because Illinois preparing for the upcoming decision in June 2022 is making it even easier for kids to have abortions. So these kids, they're going to leave this place. They're going to go, oh, it's okay to be a boy or girl or be whatever I want. Sure. After you turn 18 and have adult thoughts, you can make these adult decisions. All right. But you can't make these decisions under 18. All right. You shouldn't be allowed to make these decisions under 25 when your brain isn't fully developed yet. Because trust me, we change through life. But you parents that support this, you're child abusers. You're child abusers. And the parents that support what's coming next, they're child abusers too. Because like I said, they're making it even easier. They're making it even easier. The voters of Illinois love liberal destruction of our society, love the destruction of male and female gender, love the destruction of science and the pissing on religion, love the tearing apart of this country so much, love sin and disgustingness so much, and love murder so much that they literally voted, all right, to end parental notification for teen girls' abortions. That's right. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signs a bill ending parental notification for teen girl abortions. Look at that fat Steve Buscemi. That's not Steve Buscemi. What, Joe Pesci? He looked like Joe Pesci. He's Joe Pesci looking piece of shit signing that bill like he's signing away for a 24-piece bucket of fried chicken. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed legislation that repeals the state's only last pro-life law by allowing minor girls to obtain abortions without their parents' knowledge. All right. That's what they've been talking about. This is going to be the real winter of death, ladies and gentlemen, because in preparation for the overturn of Roe versus Wade, abortions are going to skyrocket. The racist tool of abortion invented and put in place, all right, in full production line style. All right, that's the invention right there. The Planned Parenthood invention of literally creating a production line of abortion clinics all across this country, strategically placed in minority and low-income neighborhoods to kill babies. That is what we're doing. This is the quote from the governor. With reproductive rights under attack across the nation, Illinois is once again establishing itself as a leader in ensuring access to health care services. Pritzker said Friday, complying with the abortion industry's narrative that ending the lives of unborn children is women's health care. No, it's evil, and you're a murderer. Pritzker said he was proud of passing HB 370, named by Democrats the Youth Health and Safety Act. This repeal was essential because it's the most vulnerable pregnant minors who were punished by this law. Victims of rape, by the way, like a tiny percent. Literally, when you look at the statistics, it's like 1% of every abortion ever. All right? Like if there was 1 million abortions a year, it's like 10 of them are from rape. And the rest are all other, which means they were used as contraceptive. All right. So don't let them lie to you. Don't let them think like there's an epidemic of raped pregnant women running around. There isn't. When women are raped, that's another story. It needs to be handled in a different way. And that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the use of abortion as birth control. The right to go around as a 12-year-old and be a stank ass hoe and fuck a bunch of people because your family doesn't care about you and then hit the button every time you get knocked up. That's not right. That shouldn't be allowed. And everybody agrees with that when it's explained the right way. Even my Democrat 90-year-old grandma who would jump on a crucifix for Roe v. Wade, okay? Literally, when you explain it like what's actually happening, they go, oh my God, no, I'd never agree to that. The problem is people are lied to, people are misinformed. The Democrat Party, big abortion, all of these people, all right, that are run by multi-million-dollar lobbyists, multi-billion-dollar contracts, the abortion business, the murder of babies, it's all A-OK because it's been sugar-coated and shoved down throats by fake Mary Poppins-ass motherfuckers. Like a spoonful of sugar, the abortion lies go down. Fuck you. Amy C. Gerke, executive director of Illinois' Right to Life, tweeted, by signing the bill into law, Pritzker ignores the will of Illinois voters, usurps the right of Illinois parents to be involved in their children's health care, and endangers countless minor girls. The Democrat Illinois governor signed a sex ed bill into law that requires kindergartners to learn and define gender identity. Kindergartners. Any parent, all right, any parent in Chicago that deals with that, I believe that, in my opinion, is child abuse. 100% child abuse. They're kindergartners. You have no right to shove that shit down their throat. It's a lie. It's a lie 1,000%. Males, females, only It's science. Look it up. Trust the science, right? Today, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker ignored the will of Illinois voters. He usurped the right of Illinois parents. So parents have no say. They have no say anymore. All right? They literally made it a civil rights violation for an employer to not hire an illegal alien. Okay? This is a state that's literally sinking into the sea, that if a Great Lake washed over it, nobody would care. Nobody would care. President Lincoln, all right, if he were to come back to life, if somebody were to literally, if Elon Musk were to discover that he could bring back founding fathers and ex-presidents and dead people with his magic microchip and put them in a new body, President Lincoln would go find the descendant of John Wilkes Booth and beg him to shoot him in the back of the head, because what has happened to Illinois and to the rest of this country would make him sick. Illinois, you make us sick. All right. The fact of the matter is, while Joe Biden promises a winter of death for COVID, for unvaccinated COVID people, because he wants to take care of the lobbyists, because he wants to take care of big business, because he wants to line his pockets with gold. I had to say it like that. It was funny. I just imagined Joe Biden's face like gold. Anyway, because he wants to line his pockets. All right. Everybody has to suffer. The inner cities of Democrat cities will be on fire. Mark my words, before the November 2022 elections, especially if Roe v. Wade is overturned in June 2022, this country, all the Democrat cities will burn. These smash and grabs, these little thefts, these murder rates going up, all the crime, all the stuff you see where liberal mayors are starting to get tougher, all that will go right out the window, because what will happen will be like nothing you have ever seen in your lifetime. Think about it. I've asked people in their 60s and 70s if they've ever seen a time like this in their life, and 99.9% of them say no. I thought maybe before it was like the 70s or 80s, but then it got worse. Well, folks, like I said in the beginning, it only gets worse from here. So things are going to get worse. And you're going to see a time in this country akin to the 1800s, a time in which we never imagined we'd live to, because we'd all become complacent. We'd all become comfortable. We all hadn't struggled through hardship the way that we had in the past. But now it's back. And now weak men made hard times, and now these hard times are going to make strong people out of all of us. That's the truth. That's the truth. So this winter of death is coming, but it's a winter of death for babies. It's a winter of death for people in the inner cities. It's a winter of death for babies because, like you see in Illinois, the governors of these liberal states and the mayors of these liberal cities are going to put things in place to make murder in season. Literally, this is going to be a hunting season for American babies, and it should terrify you and make you sick. You want to see a spark point? You want to see people get close to civil war? Ramp up the murder of babies. And then our government says no more and still do it. See what happens. Watch what happens. This is only going to get worse. I pray good leaders, strong people take over, because this mass psychosis that's going on around the world, because cowards wanted to save their own ass, because that's what's happening. These leaders that went for the vaccines, that went for all of these things, these leaders that say they're helping you, no, they're scared. They're terrified, and they're doing what they think is best for scared people. But you and I, no, we're brave people. We're strong people. We're fighters. We fight back. And if we're going to fight, we're not going to be scared anymore. We're not going to be pushed anymore. And scared people, all right, do crazy things. These folks are backed into a corner, and we're not afraid. We're not afraid. So sparks are flying, and I hope we have strong leaders who have the common sense to do the right thing, because Roe v. Wade is going to be a thing of the past. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain why it's going to change, why this winter of death is going to occur. All right, the facts have changed. Roe v. Wade is obsolete. This is an article from Newsweek, folks, from Newsweek. All right, let me explain. During the oral arguments for the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health, this is the case that could overturn Roe v. Wade, the one that was just put in the Supreme Court where the decision will come to pass June 2022. Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health, the U.S. Supreme Court justices discussed the stare decisis factors they should consider when re-examining the court's precedents. Just in case you don't know, stare decisis in court is basically a thing that says that courts usually go by precedent set by previous courts. If a ruling has been made that was a strong ruling in a certain decision, the ruling usually stays. All right. It doesn't change very easily. In my belief, and how it's been explained to me, that is the best way to interpret stare decisis. All right. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments below. Correct me. I'll make the change. So the conclusion they reach could decide the fate of Roe v. Wade. In Planned Parenthood v. Casey, the 1992 case that upheld Roe, the court analyzed several cases in which it decided not to follow its own precedences. All right. It primarily focused on Brown v. Board of Education, the 1954 ruling that overturned a 58-year-old precedent in Plessy v. Ferguson. In Plessy, the court allowed states to establish racially segregated facilities as long as they were separate but equal. In Brown, the court cited research that proved school segregation marked minority students with a badge of inferiority. The Casey court noted that the Plessy court's explanation for its decision was so clearly at odds that the facts apparent to the court in 1954 that the decision to re-examine Plessy on this ground alone was not only justified, but it was required. By the way, this leads into why segregating us over critical race theory will never, ever, ever stand. That's why they say it's not being taught in schools. Because if they officially said it was being taught in schools, the Supreme Court would literally overturn it in 5 seconds. Listen. All right. Could Roe be similarly examined if new facts come to light? The Casey court affirmed that changed circumstances impose new obligations, and the thoughtful part of the nation could accept each decision to overrule a prior case as a response to the court's constitutional duty. However, it did not overrule Roe. The justices found that no change in Roe's factual underpinning has left its central holding obsolete, and none supports an argument for overruling it. All right, that grows even shakier with every passing year. As I outlined in my recent article for the Tennessee Law Review, this guy plugging himself here, I might as well give it. It says the facts facing the Dobbs court today are so different that Roe has been robbed, all right, of its original justifications. And this is true. This is where it changes. Justice Amy Coney Barrett drew attention to one of those developments during an oral argument. She used the post-Roe development of safe haven laws to assess whether Roe can be overturned. When it established a constitutional right to abortion, Roe emphasized that the burdens of parenting and identified abortion as a way to free women from the distress associated with an unwanted child, the additional difficulties and continuing stigma of unwed motherhood. Okay, that was something Roe emphasized. Barrett rightly pointed out that these concerns have been eliminated by safe haven laws. She asked why women need abortion access to free themselves from the burdens Roe described when every state now has safe haven laws, enabling women to relinquish the custody of newborns to police stations, fire stations, and other state agencies with no questions asked. Very true. That's a very good point, because why would you kill a baby when you could just give the baby up for abortion? All right. Justice Samuel Alito then raised a second important development when he asked Mississippi Solicitor General Scott Stewart if there are now secular philosophers and bioethicists who take the position that the rights of parenthood begin at conception. This question was likely a reference to the Roe Court's use of states' reluctance to accord legal rights to the unborn. To hold that states did not have a compelling interest to protect prenatal life at fertilization. All right. This said basically once upon a time during Roe versus Wade, when this happened, all right, it was a reluctance to accord legal rights to the unborn. There was no way to hold that a state did not have any compelling interest to protect that life at fertilization. But today, all right, the Dobbs court can explain that the law now recognizes all humans as persons at fertilization. There you go. Oh, That 12-week, 14-week heartbeat thing, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Fertilization is when life begins. All right. It says the post-Roe development of fetal homicide laws shows that many states recognize the killing of a fetus as homicide or murder. 29 states, all right, that's more than half, now have laws that protect the preborn at fertilization. Our nation has progressed in its legal recognition and protection of the preborn. All right. They've progressed to the protection of the preborn humans since Roe first declared that the law has been reluctant to endorse any theory that life, as we recognize it, begins before live birth. And then finally, Justice Sonia Sotomayor claimed the issue of when life begins has been hotly debated by philosophers since the beginning of time. This was a reference to the Roe Court's determination that it could not resolve the difficult question of when life begins. She literally threw it out the window. The beginning of time. Oh, what a dumb bitch. But it's okay. It's okay. It gets fixed. It says in a recent survey, 80% of the 4,107 American respondents selected biologists as the group most qualified to determine when life begins. More than 5,500 biologists from 86 countries were surveyed on the same question, and 68% agreed they are most qualified. Even though 85% of the sample identified as pro-choice, 96% affirmed that a human life begins at fertilization. An amicus brief signed by biologists from 15 countries further establishes the scientific consensus on the fertilization view, and no brief in support of Roe contested it. That is big news, folks. That means that we are heading towards having Roe v. Wade finished, finito, thrown out, burned down, and the issue goes back where it should go, to the states. To the states, where it should be based upon what voters want and what voters need and what the federal law states versus what the states say. And the states should actually have power to push back and not be strangled by the federal government. That's what Roe v. Wade did. Strangled the rights of women across this country, not helped them, strangled it, because there are plenty of women, millions and millions of women that don't believe in this, that don't want this, but it's been sold by Democrats and Democrat policies in inner cities as the number one form of birth control. Folks, do you see what's happening here? The Democrats are doing everything in their power to save their racist institution of literally a production line of invisible slavery to hold down poor people as their base, to hold down black communities in inner cities, hold down poor white people across the country, poor people everywhere, to literally control their population and turn them into the battery that charges the Democrat Party. That's literally what this bill, what Roe v. Wade did. All right. It literally gave the Democrats one of their most powerful tools to control poor, ignorant people. All right. And I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about poor people that are ignorant. I come from a poor, ignorant family. All right. So trust me, we need to take it the right way, the way it's supposed to be taken. It says these recent developments mean that women no longer need abortion access to be free from unwanted child rearing. And starting at fertilization, the preborn are biologically recognized as humans and legally protected as homicide victims. The Dobbs Court should use these developments to help, quote, the thoughtful part of the nation understand that Roe must be overturned. Must be overturned, folks. Plain and simple. All right? Most Americans are open to this. A majority already oppose abortion in most circumstances and throughout most pregnancies. All right, regardless of whether Roe was correctly decided and aptly justified based on the facts available to the court in 1973, in 2021, the facts have changed. And don't let any of these Democrats tell you anything different, because they're all liars. All the Democrat leaders are liars. All of them can't take the heat. They don't tell the truth, and they can't stand it under pressure because they're liars. Black community. All right. They've lied to you. White community. They've lied to you. Jewish community. They've especially lied to you. They've lied to everybody, and all of it to keep power. So, Joe, you're right. There is a winter of death coming. And that winter of death is caused by Democrats. All right. It's caused by Joe Biden. It's caused by Democrat mayors like Lori Lightfoot and Democrat governors across this country, because they have just declared war on unborn babies. So a winter of death is coming in this country, folks. But it's not COVID-19. It's a winter of death for unborn babies. Are you going to take that? Are you going to allow that to happen? Are you just going to keep your mouth shut and let them kill even more children, even more of God's children? We can't. So open your freaking mouth and say something about it. Do something about it. It's time we stand up and speak out for what we believe in. Plain and simple. All right? Because the Democrats, they don't believe in anything. They don't believe in anything at all. All right? We're going to end this on a good note. We're going to bring this to a higher place of being. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I hope you see where this winter of death is going. But I want to show you everything. All right? I want to show you the truth about Kamala Harris. I want to show you the kind of crap that they're pulling. I want to give you proof that they lie, proof that they can't handle the heat, proof that they can't jump in the fire. Because as you've heard, Harris went around, she went on the Charlemagne the God show, and he asked her who the real president was. And she flips out on him. She comes back. But what they did is they made a cut in there. They put a hard edit and they cut the whole part out where her staffer tries to shut the interview down, where she looks like she just got slapped in the face by Mayor Willie Brown's big dick. She's like, huh? She literally freezes and looks like an idiot. All right. Looks like an idiot. And I have that for you, courtesy again of the News Junkies cartoons. Enjoy.
So we are doing those things in the face of Republican opposition, but we cannot give up. None of us can. And the reality is, because the issues are too serious and they impact everybody every day. And I agree with you. They're very serious.
Who's the superhero that's going to speak against Joe Manchin? No.
Hear that?
I want to know who's the real president of this country. Is it Joe Biden or Joe Manchin?
Look at her face.
I'm sorry. I interrupted. I'm thinking about something here. It's Simone. I'm so sorry, Charlamagne.
We have to rap.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
This shifty bitch.
Can you hear me, Madam Vice President?
So I'm sorry. You got to rap.
Oh.
So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that pucker moment.
I can hear you.
Oh, so who's the
I
real?
can hear you.
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlamagne.
Come
on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell sometimes.
No. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden, and I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris.
I think she had to remind herself.
The reality is, because we are in office, we do.
They're really showing themselves to do really well. Come on, man.
Oh, okay. All right. You see that? I'm the vice president. He's the president. These people have their heads up their ass. They don't know what's going on. All right. They're clinging to power. They're liars. They're liars. There is no winter of death coming. The Omicron isn't killing anybody. If anything, it's making everybody stronger, and they're going to lose money by selling less vaccinations. Folks, all right, I'm not dissuading you to get vaccinated. Go talk to your doctor and make the best choice you want to make. All I'm telling you is that there's a virus coming that's literally not killing anybody, that's going to give everybody antibodies, and they're fear-mongering to make more money. Meanwhile, the real death is coming, and it's coming because Democrat policies are going to make it easier to kill babies, easier to kill each other, and easier to kill ourselves in the inner cities of blue states and blue cities across this country. Watch. 2022, this gets overturned. Roe v. Wade, cities will burn like you've never seen them. Leading up to the election in 2022, God help us. God help us and keep us from civil war. All right, folks, this has been episode 181 of American Reveille Podcast with James Lane. I hope you guys like it. We talked about some headline news. I told you Joe Manchin killed that Build Back Better bill. Joe Manchin, rock and roll. I hope he becomes a Republican because I'm very, very happy he's stuck with his ground. I showed you the serial killer, the shopping cart serial killer in Fairfax County. I showed you, all right, Jake Paul. All right, Jake Paul knocking the shit out of that BLM supporter right into the winter of death with Joe Biden, right into the 800 homicides in Chicago, to the police blotter from James Hawthorne. I showed you all that. The Chicago rooftop preacher telling you about families, education, about the broken system made by Democrat policies, into the Lutheran church in Chicago, the one with the cross-dresser, the drag queens telling children that they're beautiful queens, confusing them, letting them as little kids lead this life, wondering what's right, what's wrong, things they don't need to know nothing about, right into Jay Pritzker, the Illinois governor, making it so kids of all ages, minors without parent consent, can go and have their abortions. And then I took it right in the back door to Roe v. Wade and shoved it right up the Democrats' ass with all the facts. The winter of death is coming. The winter of death is abortions. All right, the winter of death is abortions, and we need to stop them. 2022 will be the year of Republicans. My friends, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye.
That's ISO. Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up, I'm with the gang, we taking shots off the rebound. Fucking my post to say now, I've been humble too long.